everybody, in today's video I will be planting a hedge of North Star Boxwoods. I garden in Vermont in the northeastern United States, and I'm in zone 5, which means it can get down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit here. Sorry, it's always windy here. It's always windy, and my neighbors are always mowing. One neighbor's always mowing, so I apologize. Hopefully it's not too loud, but okay. I am working in the garden beds in the front of my house. So I actually completely redid these last year. I cleaned out what was here, which was mostly grass, and I added some incredible hydrangeas and some arborvitaes along my front walkway, and I have a taller arborvitae in the corner. And I really need some more evergreen interest just in general on my property, but I thought it'd be especially nice to have more evergreen interest around the front of the house. Now the arborvitaes are an evergreen interest, so that's great, but I want more. And my vision is that these will grow as a little hedge in front of the incredible hydrangeas, so that when they're in bloom, the hydrangeas will kind of spill over the top, or at least give that illusion. So that's my plan. Let me tell you a little bit more about the North Star Boxwood. So these are compact boxwood. They only get to 2 to 2.5 feet tall and wide, so that's pretty small for a boxwood. If you just planted them on their own instead of hedging them, they would grow into a nice little compact ball. So that's a nice thing about them as well. They are hardy in zones 5 through 9, so I am at the very northern end of the zone here. That's a pretty broad range. A lot of people can plant them. One of the really cool things about boxwoods is they can handle a lot of different light situations. So they can go from anywhere from full sun to, I think, mostly shade. I don't know if they do as well in deep shade. You guys let me know if you've tried that before. These are going in part sun, so they actually get sun all morning. We're on the eastern side of my house, so they get morning sun and then afternoon shade, and I think they will be very, very happy with that. As I said, I am going to be creating these into a hedge, so I will be eventually pruning them. They're very small right now. I will eventually be pruning them into a hedge, and if you are going to prune them, they recommend pruning them in summer. So in general, I think when pruning things like this, you don't want it to be too hot or too cold, because you want the nice little new shoots that are coming out to not, burn or get cold damage. So that's kind of the guideline with that. One of the other things about this variety is it's said to not bronze as much during the winter. A lot of boxwoods and evergreens in general will kind of get that bronze winter color on them, and these ones are supposed to not as much. But again, we're at the very northern end of the zone, so we'll see what happens this winter. And I did get these in quart size, which is actually, for me at least, hard to find at a local garden center. So also hard to find in this number that I need at a local garden center. So I did order these from Garden Crossings. I'll have them linked below. And you can actually see me unboxing them in my unboxing video, which I'll link here. They all look really good right now. It's been a little more than a week, I think, since my unboxing video, and I'm finally going to get these in the ground. So the tools I'm going to be using today, firstly, I have my garden gloves. I recommend using them. I don't always, but it does help protect your hands. I do have landscape fabric down here. That's a whole different discussion. Let's not get into that, but because I do have my butane torch here. This is actually like for creme brulees and such in the kitchen, and I use that to burn holes in the fabric. I have a measuring tape, and I also have some sticks for spacing. So I'm going to space them 18 inches apart, and this bigger stick lets me do, it's a little smaller than 18 inches because it lets me do 18 inches on center on the cans. So here's how I think about spacing. So these say they get 2 to 2.5 feet wide. That means that on each side, it should get from 1 to about 15 inches from center, right? On each way, because they grow out like this both ways. They don't just grow one way, hopefully. So since I want these, if I didn't want them to touch, I would want to put them at least 2 feet apart. But since I do want them to touch and go together, I'm going to put them 18 inches apart. That way, hopefully, they will form a hedge sooner. But they should still have enough space to be happy. And likewise, I don't mind it coming over the brick edging a little bit, but I don't want it to come too far over. So I'm setting it about a foot back, thinking it'll touch the edging. It'll about stop there. I'm also going to hedge them so I can try to keep them kind of under control in the shape and size I want. So those are important tools for this. I'm also going to be using Biotone Starter, which really just helps give the roots a good start and fertilize them for this year. And then I have some things to dig with. Ooh, I may end up getting some garden soil if I feel like I need it. We've got a big pile of garden soil available that I use for my raised beds and other gardening areas, and sometimes I like to use it in planting holes to amend the holes. So I may or may not use that, and you may or may not see me using it. Just to give you an idea of what I'm starting with here, this is the south end of this bed. Again, it's facing east, so it gets good morning sun. That bird bath is actually not going to be there. It's temporarily there while I wait to clean the spot out for it. But we've got 3 incredible hydrangea bushes here. We've got a lot of plants and other stuff to go through here, so excuse the mess. I've got some little arborvitaes, tater tot arborvitaes here that line our front walkway, and a lot of plants that need to be planted. Feeling a little behind already. And then over on the other side here we have the same thing. These are 3 incredible hydrangeas. So we'll be putting another hedge in here. Then we've got, this is I think it's called a DeGroot Spire arborvitae. So it's going to get a little bit bigger. I think it gets, I believe it gets about 8 to 10 feet tall, somewhere in that range. And I think 4 to 5 feet wide at maturity, but that's like at 10 years. So it's going to take a while to get there. That's what that is. We've got some rhododendrons in the back. Those are the only things I left when I redid this bed. I really need to weed. There's like edges that don't have, there's parts that don't have landscape fabric around the back. So those need to be weeded, but I'll get to that. I've been doing a little bit at a time. And then this section here has more incredible hydrangeas, but these are incredible blush hydrangeas. And then the one on the left here, if you've seen some of my recent videos, that one was actually dead. That didn't survive the winter. And so I replaced that one this spring, which I think for planting 9 of these last year in the heat of the summer, I was happy with the survival rate. Everything looks really good. I have a video of pruning them, and then I also came back around and just gave them I gave them rose tone fertilizer, and I've been trying to water them. They are on drip, but the drip isn't set up yet, or the water isn't set up yet. The other things you see coming up in here is I planted some bleeding hearts. So I planted them bare root recently. Oh, my shadow's in the way. I planted them bare root recently, and they're just coming up now. So hopefully those will be really cute. Yeah, so this is what I'm starting with. I think it's going to look a lot more to get put together and formal after I add the boxwoods. So the first step here is actually using my spacing and laying them all out. I'm just going to get that done. Over here, the bed is a lot shorter, closer to the, like it's smaller this way. And so I decided I'm actually going to only put it 6 inches out. I got a new stick, 6 inches out from the bricks. Now this may mean that it comes farther out onto the bricks or farther out onto the grass eventually. But I had a couple thoughts. 1, I can try to keep them smaller with the hedging. And 2, if I need to move the bricks out at some point, I can do that. So that's my thought process here. I'm going to get them laid out. I actually have 1 boxwood left. I thought I was gonna fit 4 in here. I don't know why I thought I was gonna fit 4 there. I don't know if I didn't measure this correctly or something, but anyway, so I have 1 left. I actually switched out I took out the smallest one. So there's just 1. I'm gonna hold on to it for right now in case anything bad happens in the next couple weeks with one of these. But it'll probably end up just going in a pot, maybe in my rose circle or something. It could just be a cute little accent for right now. And I'll think about if there's another spot I want to put it. Again, this could grow on its own as a specimen and just grows into a little ball. So not a bad thing to have an extra. It's planting time. I finished. It feels really good. So this last part was actually the easiest to do because I had amended it with a lot of good garden soil last year because it was kind of a mess. The soil here was a mess. It was really dry and just not great. So it made it easier this year that I had amended it so much last year, so that was good. My hair is a mess. I might be a little dirty, but the box was just cute as a button. I'm very excited about how it turned out. It took me several hours. I don't know if I recorded exactly how many, maybe 3. So just so you know, I'm going to fast forward so it seems like it's going really fast and all that, but No, it took me quite a while. And I took a lunch break and such in between. So it would go faster if I didn't have landscape fabric, because I did have to cut through that every time. And also if I had one of those augers, like those bigger garden channels like Garden Answer and Gardening with Creekside and a couple others, they have the augers. And one day I want those, but they weren't in the budget this year. I budgeted for more plants and stuff. So maybe next year. But yes, I'm very excited about how this turned out. Let me show you. I'm starting over on the side I did last, this little area here. These are the Incredible Blush hydrangeas here. And this goes into the shade first. You can kind of see the lines of what's happening with the shade because it's the afternoon now. And you also might notice I tucked a little friend in here. I got this little garden statue recently. It's a little dragon. Our family just loves dragons and like all things fantasy. And so I thought that would be really fun to tuck it in there. There are some bleeding hearts growing around it. I think it'll look really, really pretty. And as the boxwoods and the hydrangeas both grow, it will be a little bit hidden, and so you may not see it until you walk by. So these are here. I decided because that we actually have a pipe back there for fuel. I didn't want to make the beds too big or make it harder for them to get to that or us to get to that pipe, so I did not put any there. As I swing around here, you could see my next project, which I don't think I'm going to get to today, but that's next on the agenda, so we'll save that for later. And then along here, aren't they just so cute? I mean, they will grow and form a hedge and they won't be necessarily cute anymore, but hopefully it'll be pretty. Gives a more formal look, gives some evergreen interest. Okay, and then the last side here where we actually started planting, you could see this side's going to get the most sun. The last one or two are still in sun there. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. So they do get a good day's worth of sun over here. But again, boxwoods are fantastic because they can take various levels of light and they should all remain around the same size. I don't think that those will be like much bigger than the ones over on the other side that get more shade. I am thinking about what to put. Again, as I'm showing you this, that bird bath won't be there. So I'm debating. Oh, can you see me? You might be able to see my reflection. Hi. A couple thoughts I have. Where the bird bath is, I do want to put some sort of anchor plant. So I'm debating between something. I love dark foliage things. So like a 9 bark maybe would be pretty there. A smaller one, not one of the really big ones, but I've seen like a little 9 bark that gets 3 to 5 feet might be good, but that's about the same size as the hydrangeas, so I'm not sure about that. It's also deciduous, which means it's going to lose its leaves in the winter. So I'm leaning towards maybe an evergreen, another columnar one, kind of like the one in the other corner there, but I don't know if I want to do the same one. And kind of, it wouldn't be exactly mirroring each other because this one will be closer to the house than the other one. Anyway, thinking about that, if you have thoughts, you can let me know. But my other thought, and this we'll have to work on more this fall, but I would like more spring interest between the hydrangeas, just like I did the bleeding hearts on the other side. I'd love to have something that is there in the spring and then maybe dies back. So I am thinking here in this area, well, this area and the one across the front walkway, so they'll match, of doing like white daffodils and then an allium mix, the purple globes. I think it would look really pretty having those all around the hydrangeas, because you could see, I mean, they're looking beautiful now with the foliage, but they take a little while to grow in the spring, and we won't get blooms until July at the earliest. So I need something to fill that in. So that would be like May and June. Yeah, I think maybe mid-April we might start seeing some daffodils, and then so April, May daffodils, and then May, June alliums I think would be really pretty. There might still be a gap in there between blooms, but I think that's okay. Yeah, it would just be nice, and then we could just let the foliage die back in there. So that's my thought there. Then there's this like little space here. The hydrangeas will grow in that direction a bit. I think these ones get 5 feet tall and wide. So yeah, they'll grow a little bit farther out. I do need to do a bunch of weeding back there. Ignore that. But where this is like a really wet spot, more so on this side because the gutter's there, but it's also wet on the other side in this spot. And so I'm thinking of doing irises because I know that iris likes being wet, or at least a specific kind. So I'm just trying to debate what color I would want. And that would be another spring bloomer. And then as you move over, I'm going to put some pots there and hellebores and spots for annuals. So I have plans. Okay friends, that was a lot of work, but I am so happy with how it turned out. Subscribe if you haven't already to see how these grow and develop and what my next projects are. And until next time, happy gardening.